As Chapter 11 gets more and more expensive, creditors are looking to new, more economical methods to exit from bankruptcy protection. And the latest trend is structural dismissals. Here to tell us more about this is Brad Sandler, a partner at Pachulski, Stang, Ziehl & Jones, which is the largest corporate restructuring law firm in the U.S. He also serves as the co-chair of the firm's National Committee practice. So Brad, I wanted to ask you first, what exactly is a structured dismissal and when is it best used?
Jamie, thanks for having me. So structured dismissal is a hybrid between a plan and a straight dismissal. It is a dismissal in the sense that the bankruptcy case gets dismissed, but it has certain features like a plan. For example, it may have releases and exculpation provisions in there. It may have ways to how to reconcile claims and pay those claims. It may have provisions to retain jurisdiction and various other bells and whistles, just like a plan.
And are we seeing them being used more now, and why exactly is that?
We are seeing them used more, and I think there are a couple of reasons. There's a confluence of factors. I think one of the factors is that, frankly, courts are getting more used to seeing them, and why are courts getting more used to seeing them? One of the reasons is because Chapter 11 has gotten so expensive that a structured dismissal is an efficient exit from bankruptcy. Under the Bankruptcy Code, there are really three ways to exit a case. One is through a straight dismissal, and that puts the parties back to essentially their respective positions where they were before the bankruptcy. There is a conversion from a Chapter 11 to a Chapter 7. The problem with a conversion is that it's expensive because it creates another layer of administrative expenses and also creates delay because then a Chapter 7 trustee has to come in and administer the case. And then the final way is through a plan, which is a traditional way to exit Chapter 11 and really the most elegant way. But the problem with the plan is that it's very expensive. The plan has to be drafted, it has to be negotiated, there's a disclosure statement that goes along with that needs detailed information, it has to be solicited out to all the creditors, then there has to be a confirmation hearing, and it's a lengthy process. And doing a structured dismissal is a way to preserve resources to maximize recoveries to unsecured creditors.
And I understand that the United States trustee generally objects to these structured dismissals. What are their arguments against it?
Well, my experience is that the U.S. Trustee's Office objects predominantly on policy grounds. But really, if you look at the heart of their objections, it's really based on the fact that their view is a structured dismissal is trying to do an end run around the bankruptcy code. And their view is that the ways to exit bankruptcy are what I mentioned before, and the Bankruptcy Code doesn't authorize a structured dismissal. Also, they may take issues with certain provisions. For example, if there's a gifting provision, they may say that it violates the absolute priority rule and other issues. My experience is that courts will look and listen to the U.S. trustees' objections, but if there aren't any economic parties that object to the structured dismissal, or in fact the economic parties support the structured dismissal, those objections get overruled. And that's really been the vast majority of the cases.
And how have the courts ruled on this issue that you've seen so far?
For the most part, the courts have been very willing to accept a structured dismissal. We've been involved in a bunch of cases, a case called Norchi in Utah. The court had never done a structured dismissal, and in fact I had argued that case and they granted the structured dismissal. In Dallas, a case called Buffet Partners, same thing. In Baltimore, in a case called PJ Com, the court had never done a structured dismissal and was open to doing it. The courts more and more are viewing structured dismissals as a legitimate way to exit bankruptcy. And again, for the most part, it's because there's nothing in the code that prohibits the exit of bankruptcy through a structured dismissal, and it is a cost-effective means to do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was really interesting.
My pleasure, Jamie. Thank you for having me.
For The Deal, I'm Jamie Mason. Thank you for watching.